Hey everyone, Robert Ferringo with Doc Sports here with your Ferringo 5 for Week 8 of the NFL season. Be sure to check me out at www.docsports.com, www.docsports.com. Hello there. If you are, for the uninitiated, the Ferringo 5 is I take 5 games that jumped out at me when I was looking at the board this weekend in the NFL. This isn't, the 5 biggest games. These aren't 5 games that I necessarily have picks and plays on. These are just the 5 games that I'm going to be paying a little bit closer attention to on Sunday when I am holed up in my office, all 3 flat screens on, just drinking my face off and gambling my brains away for Week 8. I feel good about Week 8 though. And I really like some of these games. Some of these games are really intriguing to me. It starts with Philadelphia at Buffalo. Okay, great game. Great game. Just interesting game for me, okay? I am from upstate New York. I'm not a Bills fan, though. All of my friends here in Georgia that are also from upstate New York, they are all Bills fans. So I spend an inordinate amount of my life talking about the Buffalo Bills and watching Bills games. So I'm very, very familiar with this team. And I can say 100% definitively, despite the, what everyone in the mainstream media is talking about right now, the Buffalo Bills are not for real. They're not. They are not a contender to knock off the Patriots in the AFC East. They are not a contender for the Super Bowl. They're not legit, okay? They absolutely are not. If you're buying into the Bills, you are setting yourself up for failure. They almost lost to a Miami team last week that is actively trying to lose games. They also almost lost to the Bengals. If you remember, they needed a fourth quarter comeback at home to beat the Bengals earlier this season. And they almost lost to the Jets in Week 1. They were down, 16-0 in that game to the Jets. So right now the Bills are 5-1, but they could have 3 more losses. They could be below 500 with losses to the Dolphins, Jets, and Bengals. They're not for real at all. Do not buy into the Bills. And even the books feel that way because they're not even the token 3-point home favorite, okay? On the other hand, Philadelphia is a mess. Their locker room is a mess. The product on the field is a mess. They can't stop anyone. They're turning the ball over. The bloom is off the rose with Doug Peterson. I think it is fairly obvious at this point that Frank Reich was the real genius. He was the man behind the curtain for that Super Bowl winning team. It wasn't about Nick Foles. It wasn't about Doug Peterson. It wasn't about the Philly special, all that stuff. It was really Frank Reich. He was the engine for that team. Since he's been gone, Philadelphia is 14-12 without Frank Reich since winning the Super Bowl there. So, this is kind of a last stand game for them. If they lose this game, they're 3-5, and they're really going to be behind the 8 ball. So, big game for both teams. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Can the Bills just keep it rolling? Can that defense play as well as it did at home against New England in their other biggest game of the year, which they almost won? Is Philadelphia going to show up, or are they just, kind of a sucker bet? Next game, Arizona at New Orleans. New Orleans is on a rush, man. They're playing at home, one of the toughest venues in the NFL for a road team to get a win. I don't know anybody that's jumping in front of that train right now. Interesting, though. Drew Brees is likely to come back. From what I am hearing, he is going to come back and play this week, which I absolutely think is a mistake. Okay, they have their bye week next week. So if I'm Sean Payton, I know that Drew Brees is trying to be this Superman, superhero, mega macho leader guy. But right now, the Saints are on a rush. They are undefeated with him. Teddy Bridgewater is playing well. They are in a good groove. They are covering spreads. They dominated the Bears last weekend in another big win. I'm not rocking the boat if I'm Sean Payton. Drew Brees is better than Teddy Bridgewater. Drew Brees is going to be the be the starter for the rest of the season and in the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. But if you have an opportunity to give Brees 2 more weeks of rest for his thumb, as well as a couple of weeks to practice and kind of get himself back in the groove, you take it. And with Bridgewater playing well and with your team undefeated without Drew Brees, why rock that boat? So I think they're making a mistake going back to Drew Brees in this game. Arizona's bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're a bad team. They've won 3 straight games, but look at who those wins were against. And they almost lost. They probably should have lost to the Giants in the Incompetence Bowl last week. Week before that, they barely beat the Bengals. So, I'm not impressed with Arizona. They're not a good team. But this number is big, and it jumped from 9 to 10.5. I think because the Sharps know that Breeze is probably playing, so they give him that measure of respect. So Arizona, though, kind of a live dog. They've won 3 straight. New Orleans secondary is banged up. They're messing with their chi a little bit. Is New Orleans going to just keep rolling and keep paying out for people? Or is Arizona a very live underdog this weekend? Could this be the game that on Monday everyone's talking about, like, oh, nobody saw that coming? Kind of see some bad things potentially coming for New Orleans. All right, next game is Oakland at Houston. Poor Raiders. Poor Raiders. They're coming off a blowout. This is their 5th straight road game. I've never seen that in the NFL. They have played 5 straight games on the road. Their one home game during that time was a London game against the Bears. I don't know any team that can hold up to the physical and mental rigor of playing essentially 5 straight road games. This is an Oakland team that is improving. They are showing signs of laying a decent foundation for the John Gruden era as they head to Las Vegas. They beat the Bears. Pretty good Bears team. They beat them in London. The week before that, they went to Indianapolis and beat the Colts. Same Colts team that dominated Houston last week. So what are we going to get out of the Raiders? They got blown out in Green Bay last week. They have to go back on the road for an early start this week. What are we going to see out of Houston? Houston's a team I'm just sick of, to be completely honest with you. They're talented, yes, but they are poorly coached. They are undisciplined. Every week, it's turnovers, it's penalties, it's erratic offense. I'm selling Houston for the rest of this season. They're just not a very good team. We kind of know who they are under Bill O'Brien. They have the talent of a potentially 11 or 12 win team, but they're going to go 9-7. Maybe they'll go 10-6 because they're in kind of a weak division, but we just kind of know who they are. They are underachievers. This is a 7-point spread that has been coming down at some books, despite the fact that most of the action is on Houston. Does Oakland have anything left in the tank, or are they just going to get run again like they did up in Green Bay, or is this another potential upset for them against an overrated Houston team? All right, game number 4 of the Ferringo 5 is Carolina at San Francisco. This one is for kind of obvious reasons. These are 2 of the top teams in the NFC. San Francisco is undefeated, and Carolina is coming off a bye, so they've had 2 weeks to prep for this game. Now, Carolina is undefeated, but go back and look at that schedule. They have played one good team this year, and I give them credit. They went on the road and soundly beat the Rams 20-7 a couple weeks ago. Their defenses, San Francisco's defense has been the best in football, New England included, over the last 3 weeks. So they are trending in the right direction. San Francisco is a team that I bought into early this season. I knew that they were going to have a bounce back year, and so far they have. But at what point do they start to get overvalued? Do they start to get overrated? They're not going to go undefeated. I don't even think they're going to make it to 8-9 or 10-0. They're going to lose in one of these next 2 or 3 weeks. Is this the game? Carolina's won 4 in a row. I like their offense better with Kyle Allen. I'm not a Cam Newton guy at all. He's not accurate, and he turns the ball over too much, and I don't think he's a very good leader. So what are we going to get from them? What are we going to get from Carolina after 2 weeks off? We've seen Ron Rivera coached teams go on runs like this before. They've won 4 straight. They have momentum. They have a good defense. Is this going to be kind of a slugfest that comes down to a field goal? Is San Francisco going to keep rolling? They've looked great in their last few home games. So really, really important game in the 4 o'clock hour. And then finally, the number 5 game on the Ferringo 5. This actually is one of the marquee games of the weekend. So there's going to be a lot of other people breaking this game down, analyzing this game. So I don't want to beat it to death. But it's Green Bay at Kansas City. I was really surprised. Even without Mahomes, I was really surprised that Green Bay is favored in Arrowhead here. I really, really am. I know that Aaron Rodgers had a huge weekend last week, but they did not look good in their game the week before that. Arrowhead is one of the tougher venues in the NFL. I think that we've seen teams do this. We've seen teams lose a star in all sports, lose a star player, and everyone circles the wagons, and they rally back. Kansas City kind of did that in Denver. Mahomes went out. Their defense stepped up. Their defense, which had been aggressively bad all season, held Denver to only 6 points. I expect a peak effort for them here as well. Green Bay's had a little bit of trouble stopping the run. Kansas City has a lot of dynamic running backs. And I got to tell you, I have always been a Matt Moore fan. I love Matt Moore. That guy's great. Okay, he's hilarious. He's a great leader. He's not a guy that gets by on talent, but he is gritty. He has moxie. All the players that play with him love the guy, so he is a great leader. He is someone that they can rally around, and he's a guy who's had some games. He's been around in the NFL. He's been a starter. He has won games in the NFL. This isn't some green rookie that's being dragged off the bench or, some Chase Daniels style, career backup guy. Matt Moore can play. He can do some things. I was really surprised Andy Reid was so conservative with his offense when he had to bring Moore in that Denver game, but I also kind of understand it because of how well the defense was playing. I look for them to open things up in this game. I think that this is going to be a high-scoring game. And if you want a free play out of my Ferringo 5, take that. Take the over in the Green Bay-Kansas City game because I don't think Kansas City's offense is going to slow down all that much. I know Green Bay's got a really good defense, but I'll be really surprised if they hold Kansas City below, let's say, 23, 24 points. I think that this one becomes a little bit of a shootout. I really do. So take the over in that game. So that's it. That's the Ferringo 5. Those are the 5 games I'm going to be paying extra attention to on Sunday. Don't forget that I have a 7-unit NFL total available for purchase at Doc Sports. Last week, my 7-unit total was the Seattle-Baltimore under. We hit that one. I actually went 4-0 on my top 4 plays last week. Ended up with a plus 1,300 overall football weekend. It was one of my better football weekends of the season. I feel like I'm building some momentum, and I feel like we're going to cash in again this week. Make sure to check back next week for another Ferringo 5. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Carpe diem, and good luck.